Boom. Scroll. We're not muted, so if I'm not here, hit that. It's not showing on the thing.
She can set the muted. She can join the team.
She can join.
But if she has problems with the teams, what we just need to have her do is call it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just have her call in, stick the microphone.
Yeah.
Just stick the microphone or call in, but
Well, she could call into the team and still,
yes,
yeah.
she can call into the teams and we can go from there.
Yeah.
She can call in and use her phone on the teams, which will be fine,
She's on.
but we just have to contact. There she is. She's good. She's in there now.
And I heard Mike's.
Okay.
Did she do a test?
Yes, we're gonna do.
Okay, yeah.
Cheryl. Oh, never mind.
This meeting is now called to order. Roll call, please.
We're gonna do-
Mrs. Towns,
Here.
Mr. Wilburn,
Here.
Mrs. Yanez,
Here.
Mr. Salt,
Here.
Mrs. Shandy,
Here. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mountain Ridge Middle School 8th graders.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't want to. No, I have Wi-Fi. That's all we can do. They didn't turn it on. Nothing we can do. As long as they.
Welcome to our Board of Education meeting this evening. We're excited to start our gathering by celebrating the outstanding faculty, staff, and students of D20. Their hard work deserves recognition, and so we wholeheartedly encourage applause during this celebration. Let's get started. Tonight, we have Mountain Ridge Middle School and Pine Creek High School here for our board spotlight. If you all could stay until after the superintendent update is done, we'd love to take some pictures with you, unless you have an IM volleyball game to get to. Then you're dismissed. We will start with Mountain Ridge Middle School. Mountain Ridge Middle School offers more CTE pathways than any other middle school in the district. They offer classes such as Lego robotics, broadcast journalism, drama and stage technology, industrial. I'm in stereo. Manufacturing, and now this creative tech intro to engineering pathway through their partnership with Challenger Learning Center. Mountain Ridge Middle School values relationships. Through connections and learning, students become whole, well-rounded individuals who excel academically, discover passions, and respect each other through curricular and extracurricular opportunities. Please welcome Principal Jeff Stirk from Mountain Ridge Middle School. Shelley, will you fix his mic, please?
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having us. Super excited and actually very super proud of the students that are here tonight. I'm going to be really quick, and I'm going to move on and introduce the most important people, both the teachers in this endeavor and of course our 8th grade students. We are just taking the partnership that District 20 already has with Challenger Learning Center, making it a little bit tighter. And this second semester, we've offered 2 creative tech, I would say, intro to engineering courses. And the 2 folks from the Challenger Learning Center that are here with us this evening are Mrs. Kendra Thompson and Mr. Gerard Carney. I have 4 8th graders that will be introduced here in a little bit: Lily Boynton, Alex Noose, Willowdean Browning, and Brody Van Buskirk. Super exciting. When we started talking about this board spotlight, we called home, and all of the students and their parents said by far this is, if not their favorite class, at least in the top 2 of their favorite classes at Mountain Ridge. So we're super excited to have this partnership with Challenger Learning Center, and I'm now going to turn it over to one of the teachers who works at the Challenger Learning Center, Mr. Gerard Carney. Please welcome him.
Hello, District 20 Board and guests as well. My name is Gerard Carney. I'm an artificial intelligence programming major. Okay. I would like to first and foremost say that I am honored and blessed to have taught all of the students at Mountain Ridge. They are a gem. They're going to go great and far with their engineering career. Here we do at Challenger, we try and provide as many opportunities for children K through 12 for them to experience real world STEM, engineering, and aerospace opportunities so that they can decide what their favorite discipline is, if they have a favorite discipline, or see if they even like engineering to begin with before they invest their lifetime and life savings in the future into their college degrees. So I will also keep it short, but what I want to make sure that you guys know is that everything that they have created here has been from nothing. It has been from literally nothing in space-time that they have created and then blossomed into a physical thing that's in front of you, and I'm very proud of that for them. So without further ado, I'll have my 4 students please come up, and I would like for you guys to take the spotlight. So come on up here, guys. Do you want them to place their stuff? So go ahead and place
Yes,
what you've
please.
made up front on that white table. And if you have any questions, I'll address them after they speak for sure. Which one shall go first? Brody, there you go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brody Van Buskirk, and I'm here to share with all of you guys what we do in creative tech. My favorite part about creative tech would have to be designing our projects on a website called Onshape. Right now, we are building rockets, as you can see on the table in front of me. What I've learned during my time in this class is how to be a leader and how to solve problems through trial and an error for our projects. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Willow Dean Browning, and I'm going to talk about the trial and error method that plays a whole role in our class, particularly when we are designing in the program called Onshape that Brody just mentioned. So usually we have an assignment and a list of expectations that we have to meet. Like for this rocket, as you see up there, it had to be 12 inches tall, it had to hold the engine, and it had to have at least 3 fins. So to accomplish this, we use a scope triangle, which basically allows us to see if we have the correct materials, if we have enough time, and if we have the skills to meet this. Once we saw that this was accomplishable, we could actually start building on Onshape. So I wanted to make like that shape of fin up there, and I started by using right triangles. I thought that I could join them together, only to realize that I didn't really know how to make that shape out of triangles. So then I had to restart, and then I used points and lines to make that, which basically shows how much is just like figuring out what does or doesn't work. And I realized that this is only just one example of the trial and error process, but it really shows how much we use our problem solving skills, which will really help us later in life.
Hi, I'm Lily Boynton, and before taking this class, I had like no experience with 3D printing at all, 3D designing, or any coding. But like being in this class, it like progressed to like the point we are now. We first started with making simple shapes and using those shapes to make keychains, which I don't think were brought. And then we started like slowly learning how to like build onto those shapes and learning new methods every day to like start making rockets and shelves like in that white box and gaining more experience. With this, in this class, I've also learned how like to make certain like teams. There's the project manager, an economic lead, a sprint lead, and designers. And I'm an economic lead, but I've been in every position throughout different projects, and using this experiences and like being in every role, I know how important it is to understand like how important my role is to have like to make the actual project and team come together. And if one person like doesn't do their designated job, it can ruin the whole entire project. And with this experience, I took certain like it helped me pick my certain classes for high school, like with DECA and learning business points in my path into business.
Hello, I am Alex Noose, and I am a project manager in the project that I lead. And the project manager is the person that leads the whole project and makes sure that everything is going smoothly throughout the whole project. And then the economic lead is the person that makes sure that all the money is in order throughout the whole project. And they make sure that we get all the request forms that we need to where we can get certain items that we might need during the project. Next is the sprint lead, and the sprint lead is the person that leads the developers into creating the whole project and making the whole project come together to where we have our final product and making sure that the final product is just as we wanted it. And then next are the developers, and the developers are the people that make the whole project come together, because the developers are the people that make the final product happen and they make the whole thing. And my specific part that I enjoy most is being an economic lead or a sprint lead, because I like to still work on the project and I like to be a big part of it, but not the top part.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. We are here for you guys to help grow anything we can do in D20 for Challenger. And again, these guys have been an absolute blessing for me. So without getting too emotional, thank you guys for everything you've done for me growing as a person as well. So thank you so much for your time. I don't know what to do with this mic now, so I'm going to stand up here until somebody takes it from me.
I just want to, kids, I want to applaud your courage for coming up and publicly speaking like this. You did a wonderful job. And when you come back up to take pictures, will you bring your rockets with you so we can have those in our pictures as well? Thank you. All right, you can sit. Thank you. Next, we have Pine Creek High School. Mrs. Yanez.
All righty. Some fun facts, important facts about Pine Creek right here in front of me. Pine Creek High School has the highest number of students in the district who pass industry certification exams. They have had 36 students signed to play their sport at the next level. Pine Creek has the highest AP exam pass rate in Academy District 20. Please join me in welcoming TJ Earhart, AP Program and Test Coordinator, and Heather Scott, Advanced Academics Coordinator from Pine Creek High School.
Kind of stole my thunder because I was going to explain that I was TJ Earhart, the AP Programming and Testing Coordinator, and that this is Heather Scott, Advanced Academics Coordinator. So we are here to help tell you today about the AP Capstone program that we are bringing to Pine Creek.
So as you know, our mission at Pine Creek High School is to educate and inspire students to thrive. We are committed to every student's success, and we believe access to challenging coursework such as advanced placement plays an important role in that success. Currently, we are planning the exciting addition of the AP Capstone program to our already robust Advanced Academics program. Starting with the senior class, students will be able to earn the prestigious and starting with the class of 2028, students will be able to earn the prestigious and distinctive AP Capstone Diploma or AP Capstone Certificate.
So first, let's talk about our current AP program. As Heather said, Pine Creek has a rather robust offering of AP courses that we are very proud of, and our list continues to grow every year. This is a list of the many courses we currently offer, and as you can see, we're going to add several more courses in the next 2 years, which includes AP Seminar next year and also AP CK Cybersecurity 2. We had Cybersecurity 1 this year, and we are bringing on AP Physics C for the first time. We've had AP Physics 1 for quite a while, and now it's time to us expand into AP Physics C. And then next year, or the following year, in fall of 2026, we'll be bringing in AP Research. And I don't doubt that there's probably another couple courses that we're going to bring in at the same time.
Just talking about a couple options. All right. So we are really proud of our student success in their AP courses at Pine Creek. Last May, we had 636 students who took 1,116 AP exams, and 79% of them earned a score of 3 or higher. This is an amazing statistic, especially if you look at the national average. This year, we are going to surpass that with our numbers of 691 students taking exams, a total of 1,217 AP exams.
It's a lot. Also important for students graduating from Pine Creek is the fact that Pine Creek High School has earned the silver recognition on the 2024 AP School Honor Roll. And the AP School Honor Roll recognizes schools whose AP programs are delivering results for their students while still broadening the access. We're confident that the addition of the AP Capstone program will help us reach gold status by enabling even more students to take and be successful in AP courses. Right now, 60% of our current seniors have taken at least one AP class before they'll be graduating. And we hope to raise that to at least 65%, which will help us meet the gold status. These classes will also raise our college optimization even more, even though we're already at the platinum level. Pine Creek is truly what we like to think of as a school of excellence.
So we're going to finally tell you what is the AP Capstone program and what are its benefits. In a nutshell, it's a paradigm shift from content focus to skills focus.
So AP Capstone is a College Board program that's innovative and helps students stand out in the college admissions process by developing the critical skills that they need to succeed in college and in their future careers. An integral part of the AP Capstone program are the 2 courses that we're going to be bringing to Pine Creek. AP Seminar, which starts next fall, and that's going to be a core English course for our sophomores, or a core elective for our juniors. And then we'll be bringing in AP Research in the fall of 2026, which will be a core elective for both juniors or seniors.
So a little bit more about each course. AP Seminar, the course that'll start next year, is a course that has many facets. One of the large components of it is that students will complete a team project, a team research paper for their project, and they must present that to a panel. There's also an individual research component, and they will write an individual essay and present that as well. And finally, like all AP courses, it also has a component for an end of course AP exam. AP Research, which will start in the fall of 26, is very similar to a graduate level course in a lot of ways. So it really prepares students for college. They will write an in-depth academic paper, much like a thesis paper, and they present that and do an oral defense of that paper. This allows students to immerse themselves in topics that matter to them. They get to follow their passions and develop analytic, research, problem solving, and communication skills that colleges seek in their applicants. This program will allow students to follow their passions, build their confidence, and gain global perspectives. There are two ways for students to achieve recognition while expanding their educational horizons in the AP Capstone program. There's the AP Capstone Diploma and the AP Seminar and Research Certificate. We'll take a closer look at each of these programs. First, we're going to talk about AP Seminar and Research Certificate.
So the AP Seminar and Research Certificate can be earned by students that earn a 3 or higher on the AP Seminar exam and a 3 or higher on the AP Research exam or project. So by doing those two things in AP Seminar and Research, they will get a certificate that can be part of their diploma package. What's super exciting though is if they want to face the challenge to get the AP Capstone Diploma. In order to earn the AP Capstone Diploma, they have to not only earn a 3 or higher in seminar and research, but they have to earn a 3 or higher on 4 other AP exams. So if they meet those criteria, they get the AP Capstone Diploma, which is a very prestigious distinction. Sorry, still me. The AP Capstone Diploma does build on the certificate, as you can see. We talked about you just have to have the 4 additional courses. And those AP subjects that we have at Pine Creek High School will help them to meet this objective, which is why we're bringing on even more and more AP subjects, so they have more and more ways to meet that criteria.
So beyond getting the distinction of the certificate or the diploma, what are the other benefits? AP Capstone has many benefits beyond that. We've mentioned several. They get all kinds of things out of it, like we mentioned, following their passion and choosing their research topic. Again, it is skill-driven, not content-driven in that way. The AP Capstone program emphasizes engagement, cross-curricular conversations, and they get to choose something that students love to do. This differentiates for all students involved in the program. They also get to, TJ.
It's also really good to note that a benefit of AP Capstone are the essential skills that our students will gain from this program. One, of course, is independent research. It's based on their interest, so they get in and they dig in and they research that and they create that project around their passion. But what's really good to know is that it equips them with those research skills that truly are increasingly valued by colleges. The other really essential skill that we're excited about is the collaborative thinking that happens in AP Capstone. Collaboration and communication skills, as we know, are at the core of college readiness and lifelong learning. So the group projects that are essential to AP Capstone challenge students to contribute equally to both the research questions and to coordinate for a joint presentation that they have to do.
As you can imagine, students who complete this rigorous coursework are really very prepared for college. It gives them distinction in the college admissions process. An AP Capstone Award is an effective differentiation tool helping students to stand out in the competitive college admissions process. In fact, according to institutional research, 85% of selective colleges and universities report that a student's AP Capstone experience favorably impacts the admission decision.
It's worth saying or repeating that an AP Capstone Award signifies to college admission officers that the applicant has the skills, the experience, and the passion for sustained success in higher education. These are just some of the more than 140 colleges and universities that have endorsed AP Capstone for its challenging interdisciplinary curricula. At Pine Creek, Barbara Michael-Gorey and Justin Morrill will be teaching AP Seminar next year, and then we will bring on AP Research the following year. We are excited about this opportunity for our students at Pine Creek.
So thank you so much for letting us share this excitement and this new program with all of you today.
Thank you so very much. Mrs. Reckman, are there any updates to the agenda?
There were updates to the agenda and the board has been made aware of these.
Thank you. Members of the board, are there any items you wish to move from the consent agenda? Are there any discussion items to be added to the agenda? May we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons,
Aye.
Mr. Wilburn,
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez,
Aye.
Mr. Salt,
Aye.
Mrs. Shandy.
Aye. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share for board comments tonight? I'll just say I had the privilege to go to Denver this morning with Director Wilburn and Superintendent Haber for the Purple Star ceremony, where we got to celebrate Ranch Creek Elementary, Douglas Valley, and Eagle View Middle School for their work with military families. And that was a real honor to get to be amongst them. And it was pretty cool to see because of I think there were 8 different school districts there. They were all from Colorado Springs except for one. So that was pretty awesome. All right, superintendent comments, Mr. Smart.
Oh, thank you. First, let me thank Becky Allen. I missed the last couple meetings and unfortunately she now has the record for the most announced in a board meeting. So I'm a little disappointed about that, but I appreciate her doing the announcing for me, and I'm sure her jokes were as good as mine are going to be tonight. So first, I want to introduce Zach Mather, who's being recommended as the Chief Information Officer. Zach is joined this evening by his wife, Sarah, spelled correctly, just like my wife, Sarah. As children, Savannah, who's a senior at Air Academy. Gavin is a freshman at Air Academy. Cadence and Riley, who are both 5th graders at Rock Rimmon Elementary School. So, as I was going through something, wow, there's a lot of things we have in common. Wife's names are Sarah, spelled the right way. We both have old Commodore 64 somewhere in our basement, and we both have twins. I have 2 sets of twins. He has 1 set. And so it's like, wow, I didn't realize we were so connected. Zach holds a Bachelor's of Science in Information Technology from Columbia Southern University. He also holds a Certificate of Educational Technology Leader, or is it CETL? Is that correct? CETL certificate from Consortium of School Networking. He began his educational career in Harrison District 2 as a PC technician, technology specialist, and then as a network support specialist. Came to D20 as a PC network technician. For some reason, went back to Harrison as a network systems administrator, chief network engineer, and supervisor for technology services. I'm assuming not all at the same time. And then went to Durango, beautiful area, as the director for information technology, and then was at Pueblo City Schools as the director for technology. And he currently serves as the director for information technology and infrastructure services here in D20. We are pleased to recommend Zach tonight for the position of Chief Information Officer. Zach, is there anything you'd like to say?
Should we try this? All right, hey, this one works. There you go. That's why I'm here. Superintendent Haber, members of the board, it's an honor and a privilege to be here before you and be recommended finalist for this position. Certainly, it's a little bit of humbling and a little bit of anxiety trying to step into the shoes of someone like Shelley, who's done this job for so long, and as many as you know, is kind of a pillar in the ed tech community in Colorado. But one thing that definitely alleviates that is the incredible IT team that we have. Some of the members are here, just incredible people, and so it's really exciting to work with them and get to continue that in a little bit different capacity. And then of course, just thank my wife and my kids and my family for all the support, because it's been a long journey, and looking forward to continuing. So thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Welcome home.
All right, our next individual is actually online, so she should be able to hear me, I hope, and she'll be able to respond when I'm done. I'm pleased to introduce tonight Dr. Amy Ripperger. I always say this name wrong. I think it's the Ripper part that gets me, who is recommended as principal for Air Academy High School. Amy holds a Bachelor of Science in History from the University of Northwestern in St. Paul, Minnesota. She also has a Master's of Arts in Teaching from Bethel University and a Doctor of Education from Drake University. And I couldn't think of any jokes other than she's in Iowa, and I hope she brings some corn with her when she comes out. And so she began her educational career in Savage, Minnesota as a social studies teacher at Prior Lakes High School, and then in Neola, Iowa as an instructional coach at the high school, and then moved up to the district TLC coordinator for that district as well. She currently serves as the assistant principal at Bondurant Farrar. I asked Susan to help me sound this out. She didn't help me very much. Farrar High School. You did not. We are pleased to recommend Amy tonight for the position of principal at Air Academy High School. And Amy, if you'd like to say something, go ahead.
Thank you, Cameron. I appreciate that. I do have a lot of corn in me. That's true. That is the Iowa part of me, but I was born in Colorado. So I will say that. Superintendent Haber, members of the board, very excited to be here online with you. Like Cameron said, my name is Amy Ripperger, and just really thrilled about the opportunity to lead Air Academy and excited to get started.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Amy. Next, I'd like to introduce Rob Hack, who is he's being recommended as the assistant principal at Chinook Trail Middle School. And Rob was there when my kids were there, and that may have been why he left, and now he's coming back now that they're gone. So I think there's a trend going on here. He holds a Bachelor's of Science in Management Studies from the University of Maryland, a Master's of Arts in Human Resources Development from Webster University, a Master's of Arts in Teaching Elementary Education from the University of Northern Colorado. Rob served for 22 years in the United States Army before beginning his educational career in District 8 at Abrams Elementary School as a third grade teacher. And then he came to D20 and was at Woodman Roberts as a fifth grade teacher and an MTSS coordinator, and then went to Chinook Trail Middle as a sixth grade social studies teacher, and then was an assistant principal there for several years. And he's currently serving as a fifth grade teacher at Encompass Heights Elementary School. And he lucked out, he missed my kids at that one. So we were pleased to recommend Rob to you tonight for the position of assistant principal at Chinook Trail Middle. Rob, anything you'd like to say?
Superintendent Haber, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity. I want to give a special thanks to my family. They couldn't make it tonight, but my son Eli is sophomore at Air Academy. My daughter Sophia is Air Academy grad currently in Greeley. And my wife Ann, who is watching us online from her conference in Minnesota. I need to thank them for all of the support that they've given me through all of the ups and the unexpected downs coming out together all the time. Thank you. To the teams, Tacey and the TOSAs on Learning Services, to Jenny, Jenna, Lynn, and the teachers at Encompass Heights for giving me a place for the last couple of years. And to the staff at Chinook Trail Middle School, who in so many, sorry about that, who in so many ways feels like I never left, and I can't tell you how much I look forward to doing and appreciate all the support. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Okay. I need Zach back up here, technical difficulties. Okay, so I'm pleased to introduce next Dan Hinken, who is recommended as the assistant principal for Pine Creek High School. I thought I heard a little woo-woo over there, but maybe not. Dan is joined this evening by his wife, Annalise, his mom, Karen, and his dad, Larry. And I'll tell you, I always say I have a face for radio. Well, I'm gonna tell you, Dan has a voice for radio. He is great at announcing. I mean, just a natural. And also, my kid's rat challenger, and he's leaving. I don't know if there's a trend here. My twin boys are there, Tornado 1 and Tornado 2, and so there's just something going on. Dan holds a Bachelor's of Science in Science Education from the University of Central Florida, and a Master's of Arts in Educational Leadership from the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Dan began his educational career in District 11 at Russell Middle School as an 8th grade social studies and reading teacher, then came to D20 and at Discovery Canyon Campus High School as a social studies teacher, and then went to Montego Bay. Is that right? Montego Bay, Jamaica? Yeah, man. Okay. As a humanities teacher, and then came back to D20 as a Chinook and went to Chinook Trail Middle School as a humanities teacher there. And he's currently serving as the assistant principal at Challenger Middle School. We're pleased to recommend Dan as for the position of assistant principal at Pine Creek High School. Anything you'd like to say?
Members of the board, Superintendent Haber, thank you for this opportunity. About 6 years ago, I got an opportunity to go and help open up Chinook Trail Middle School, and I got to teach alongside Rob and Lauren, and got a really great opportunity to work with Tom Andrew, who helped spur me on my leadership journey. And then about 4 years ago, Debbie Holt took a chance on me and gave me a job as an assistant principal at Challenger, and it's been a great 4 years. It's really sad to leave, but I'm really excited to bring both of those communities together at Pine Creek and just continue to serve at D20. So thank you to my parents and my wife, and I'm just really excited to keep going. So thank you guys. Go Eagles.
Next, I'm pleased to introduce Lynn Driggers, who is being recommended as assistant principal at High Plains Elementary School. Lynn is joined this evening by her husband Ross, her sons Kaysen and James, and parents Kristen and Keith. Sorry, I can't read my own writing. Keith and Mary Lou. Are they here? Everybody here? It's always great when the parents come. I do need to read a message from Dr. Getchell. He's going to be the new principal at High Plains, and he sent me this and wanted me to read this tonight. So hopefully I don't tear up because it's a really good one. So I'm beyond excited to work beside my new teammate, Lynn Driggers, whose incredible leadership and passion for education make her an exceptional addition to High Plains Elementary School. Lynn's heart for students, and incredible instructional capacity, and ability to lead with purpose and vision are truly inspiring. I can't wait to begin our time at High Plains as we work together to support an amazing school community. Great things are ahead. All right, so Lynn holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Elementary Education from the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, a Master's in Education in Curriculum and Instruction, and Early Childhood Education from Concordia University, and she made me add these two there. She's got a Master's of Arts in Reading from Regis University, as well as that's where she got her admin license. She began her career in District 8 at Weichel Elementary School. She taught kindergarten, first, and third grade. And then she came to D20 and went to Chinook Trail Elementary School as a K-5 interventionist, and then went to Encompass Heights Elementary School as a second grade teacher, MTSS coordinator, and interim assistant principal. And she currently serves as the Dean of Students at Encompass Heights Elementary School. And also my kids went there and she got the chance to spend some time with them. We're pleased to recommend Lynn to you tonight for the position of assistant principal at High Plains Elementary School. Anything you'd like to say, Lynn?
To the Board of Education, Superintendent Haber and Roy, I am incredibly blessed to have this opportunity to serve High Plains community. I'm truly honored and humbled to step into the role as assistant principal at High Plains. Sorry. A heartfelt thank you to my mom and dad. Instilled a strong work ethic grounded in service to others. Your unwavering support and belief in me and encouragement through the tough days, as well as celebration of success on the great days, have shaped me to who I am. To my husband, who's been my rock, you're always encouraging me to be my best self. And to my boys, thank you for being flexible on all the early mornings and late afternoons, but making sure my calendar is always filled with joy. Thank you to the people like Jenny Stirk, Jenna Skipstead, and Leah Hall, who have paved the way of being a leader with integrity and heart and teaching me along the way, no matter how big any of the bumps may have been. I'm excited and honored to work in the community and staff to create a school that exceeds expectations, no matter how high the bar is, a team that is dedicated to being solution focused, overcoming obstacles, and ensuring that every student at High Plains Elementary finds success. Albert Einstein once said, "The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing." To the High Plains staff, I promise to remain curious, not just about the work that we do together, but about who you are as individuals. I will always seek to understand how I can support you and your goals. To our students and community, I believe Simon Sinek said it best. Leadership is not a rank or position to be attained, but leadership is a service to be given. As we begin this journey together, I commit to serving you by listening deeply, communicating openly, and valuing each and every one of you. Together, we will build a community where all students are seen, valued, and heard.
All right, it's my last one. No, you guys are ready. So pleased to introduce Cheryl Dahl, who's recommended as assistant principal for Frontier Elementary School. She is joined this evening by her husband, Glenn, who was in the Air Force and apparently is the reason she got dragged around to all these amazing places to get all this great experience. Her daughter, Maddie, and her son, Grant. And I could say this about both of the Lynn and Cheryl. Perseverance, if you looked it up in the dictionary, you're going to see their picture right there. So they continue to push forward to get this position that they're recommended for tonight. And it's I'm just proud of them both. So Cheryl holds a Bachelor's of Arts in interdisciplinary studies from the University of Northern Colorado, Masters of Science Education and Curriculum and Instruction from Walden University. Cheryl began her career in District 49 at Evans Elementary School as a kindergarten teacher, and then went to Del Rio, Texas, and taught first grade, second grade, third grade as well. Then went to Enid, Oklahoma, go Sooners, and as a third grade teacher. Are you a Sooner fan or a Texas fan? Neither? Oh, that's too bad. Okay. And then went to District 20, came here, and went to Legacy Peak as a fourth grade teacher and Chinook Trail Elementary School as a third grade teacher. And she currently serves as the Dean of Students at Chinook Trail Elementary School. We're pleased to recommend Cheryl tonight for the position of assistant principal at Frontier Elementary School. Anything you'd like to say?
Good evening, members of the board and Superintendent Haber and the rest of the leadership team. I thank you guys so much for this opportunity. I feel so incredibly blessed to be here. As Mr. Smart said, that I've wanted this for a while now and I haven't given up. And so along the way, I've had some incredible mentors, and I thank Mr. Shoemaker and Mrs. Kessler for their support along the way and all that they have done to get me to this point as well and believing in me, and my family for dragging me along to all the different places that we have been over the years. That's been one of the blessings that I've been able to come back here. I am an ASD 20 graduate. I went to Rampart High School. This is home. I grew up literally right across the road from here when this was Progressive, not ASD 20, when we were that little tiny building over there. And so it's so awesome and just incredible to be back in District 20 and to now be in this role. And I am so excited to be able to know that moving forward that we're staying here long-term, and my husband will be retiring this summer, so we're here to stay. And so that is such a blessing as well. I am so excited to be a part of the Frontier family. And I am so thankful to work alongside Dr. Julie Murray. And I know that she is doing incredible things over there at Frontier, and having the opportunity to partner alongside her is just the biggest blessing that I could ask for. So I thank my friends and family that have been here to support me tonight, and I thank all of you for this opportunity.
Okay, that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Smart. All right, Superintendent Haber.
Yes, what a wonderful celebration. Great team coming on board. Such a great time of year to just welcome all of you. I'm super excited to have you on board in our wonderful journey next year. So, got to go back to the beginning, if you would, please. All right, there we go. So, board, as you know, I'm still spending time in schools and had a wonderful opportunity to go to these 4 schools. Took a few pictures at Pioneer Elementary School. Had a chance to visit classrooms with Principal Zook, and we saw students using technology as tools for learning. Had a chance to go to Discovery Canyon High School. It was a wonderful art class. Makes me really wish I would have taken art in high school. They were learning how to use several different mediums in order to express their ideas. Yesterday I was at School in the Woods, and it was also with the Colorado Land Grants rep, and they wanted to see our programming. So this is a pond exploration, and they were investigating what grows and swims in the pond. And the best part of the whole thing was to find a leech, a little black leech. I didn't even know they existed here in Colorado. So that was interesting, super exciting. That's a picture on the right there. And I just really want to celebrate John Worth. He was an administrator at School in the Woods, and he was one of the founders that opened the school in 1999. So it was super fun to meet him. He still goes out every Tuesday because he can't stay away from the pond. He loves to be out there with the kids. So that was really fun to celebrate his volunteer work as well. Eagle View Middle School, under the direction of choir director Wes Sparks, the 8th grade concert choir performed a spotlight solo at Carnegie Hall in New York as part of the Choirs of America Nationals for top choirs, showcasing their talent on a national stage. Throughout the event, the Eagle View Middle School students participate in workshops, clinics, and applications and choral exchange programs, really refining their skills alongside some of the best young vocalists in the nation. The choir members also immerse themselves in the culture and history of New York, visiting, of course, Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, and the 9/11 Memorial. What a great opportunity for our students. At Rock Rimmon Elementary School, I had a chance to tour the halls and with Principal Bonilla and really observe the amazing artwork that was on the walls. On one mural, they literally recreated Starry Night by Van Gogh, and they were learning all about his work. And as you guys know, I just really believe, and I know you do too, just how important the fine arts are to our students. Speaking of fine arts, had a wonderful time watching the Air Academy High School Guys and Dolls presentation. And as Director Shandy shared, we did do Director Shandy and Director Wilburn and myself, we had a chance to go to the Capitol today, and it was actually at the Colorado Department of Education. So Purple Star Schools, created in 2024 by House Bill 241076. The Purple Star Schools Award designates public schools that provide exceptional services and supports to military-connected students and their families to mitigate the academic and social-emotional challenges related to frequent moves, new schools, parental deployments, and different social circles and experiences. The Purple Star designation recognizes a school's significant commitment to supporting military families and students of servicemen and women. And we had 3 schools that earned that award as a Purple Star school this year, and we look forward to continuing to work with other schools to be recognized next year. Rocky Mountain Robotics, the district's Rocky Mountain Robotics team has 50 people on the team from all of the public D20 high schools. They have spent the last 3 months working on a 100-pound robot that is designated to be both autonomously and manually controlled and compete in a regional competition in Denver. The team also participates in various community events and promotes STEM in elementary and middle schools. And I believe we have the sponsor of this team here and the students to share more about this program. Do we have them here tonight? Yay! So please come up, introduce yourselves, and tell us a little bit about your program.
Hello, Board, Superintendent, and other guests. I am Emily Tremios, and I have the honor of being the CEO of Rocky Mountain Robotics Team 662.
I'm Caleb Borland. I'm the COO of the team.
And I'm Andrew. I'm the Vice President of the CAD department.
Rocky Mountain Robotics is an amazing robotics team that is sponsored through FIRST, and our season actually begins all the way back in summer, where we are responsible for taking on and planning a boot camp in which we invite every single rising freshman and as well as any other student that's interested to come learn about robotics as well as power tool safety. Our kickoff is the beginning of January, the very first Saturday of January, where we will get a video of what it is that we need to be building. We then go through the engineering design process to figure out what our priorities are, to figure out what we want to do in competition, and we also have to come up with a design. We then spend over 20 hours a week, all the way up until spring break, working on this robot, both building, testing, and programming this robot. Then for competition, we then go through a series of matches in which we are in an alliance of 3 robots going against another alliance of 3 robots, but our team members might be our opponents in our next match. This year, we had to figure out how to get a giant piece of PVC pipe onto smaller pieces of PVC pipe, as well as climb on a cage that is barely 3 inches above the ground.
As mentioned before, our team consists of 56 students and we are entirely student-led, and we are run like a business with a CEO, a COO, and VPs over multiple different technical departments ranging from areas from programming, media, and the mechanical construction. The communication between these departments is difficult, so we utilize industry standards such as Kanban to be able to seamlessly communicate between these. We also have interactions that are not purely business focused, but we also create a social atmosphere between our leadership team and our students with having separate events outside of it.
As for our performance this season, we were able to win a single game as well as performing the hardest challenge, which was pulling this 100 robot and suspending it off that cage, which you can see in that middle picture. It was one of our most difficult challenges. Along with that, we applied for the Impact Award, which is a prestigious award offered at the FIRST program, which involves how much we impacted the community, such as creating almost a dozen FIRST Lego teams at mostly focused towards Eagle View Middle.
Awesome. So in conclusion, Rocky Mountain Robotics is a great way for students to come and grow their engineering and design skills and ideas. A way to give back to the community. As you said, we sponsored over a dozen robotics teams, which is focused towards your elementary and middle school students. And we, along with this growing impact for the younger students, we then impact our older students, where even coming up with leadership, we are preparing them for the future, where to get a leadership position, you have to go through and give everyone a resume, a letter of intent, and go through a very interview process that is very difficult and can be quite stressful. Awesome. Awesome. If there's any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please stay after. I'm going to do a quick update because we'd love to get your picture.
Of course.
Awesome, awesome experiences. There's another. Oh, here's, I think, your robot, and let's see if that works. I don't think there's any sound. I think it's just. This gives you some more facts about this club. Awesome. Let's go to these guys in a minute. I really appreciate too the just the efforts to give back to the community and your work with the elementary schools. So thank you so much. All right, let me. Oh, there we go. All right, let's see. So, as you know, board, we purchased iExcel, which is a program that is a technology tool for students to use to help them develop their skills. And as I go around and talk to different schools, what I'm seeing is many schools are especially using it to help students with their math skills, and it does some good differentiation, right? And I think it's a real support for teachers because it's hard to differentiate if you've got, especially if you're a secondary teacher and you've got maybe 100 kids or more in a day. So iExcel has its own rewards program, and 9 Academy District 20 students were recently honored for their outstanding dedication to learning through iExcel. Students led the entire district in mastering the most skills from their personalized study plans, demonstrating their commitment to academic growth. And to celebrate their achievements, a representative from iExcel's Denver office recently visited the schools to personally present each student with a certificate and prizes, and families and staff joined in celebrating that work. So another great way that we celebrate academic achievement and growth in our district. Had an opportunity to meet with our amazing operational directors. It was a great time to learn from them what's going well, what we need to continue to work on, and just really want to share my appreciation for that team. And our stakeholder meetings, we met with the patrons, the community, did our community connection, our student advisory group, our patron council, our teacher communication council, and the 2 topics were facilities and budget. And thank you to Pete Risting, did an amazing job talking about maintenance. I think we take buildings for granted. We go in and our air conditioning's working and our buildings are for the most part in really good shape. So it was really a nice way to appreciate all the great work that they do. And of course, a huge thank you to Becky Allen. And your presentation, Becky, was amazing and just helping us to better understand the budget. I learned something new every time I hear a presentation, so it's awesome. And I think all of us had a chance to see Temple Grandin. Absolutely phenomenal, and a huge, huge thank you to our special education department. And again, board, if you haven't seen the movie, you need to Google Temple Grandin. Anyone else who's here, it's an amazing movie about her life. And she actually, that's over on the left in the middle, she lives in Fort Collins. I especially appreciate her advocacy for children with autism and the amazing contribution she's made nationwide. She said most meat packing companies in the nation use her method for how to humanely work with cows as they're going into the meat packing plant. So it was really a fun time to experience that together. Are there any board members who'd like to share anything else about that experience?
In speaking with her, I ran up and got 2 copies of her book. My sister's a huge fan of hers as well. And she was really, she brought up something really unique, interesting, challenging, where she was talking about Algebra 2 and how difficult that class was for her. In fact, today, she said if she had to graduate from high school today, she wouldn't be able to. She wouldn't be able to pass that class. And we didn't really have time to get into why that particular subject matter was so difficult for her. But she said, I really want people to understand that there are engineers, visual thinking people who just cannot pass that class or don't see Algebra 2, right? She said, I can, and then she puts up this sketch that she said she created in just like less than an hour or something incredible. And so it was just a reminder to me once again that, we have, yes, state standards and different paths, but are we creating paths for people who have totally unique and groundbreaking ways of thinking? Are there barriers for them that we can prevent? So she really is a tremendous person. I have not seen the movie yet. I said I was going to run home and watch it. I ran home and fell asleep, but I will get to that movie.
And we just, it was just such a joy to celebrate our wonderful years of service awards, and thank you to Mark Belcher and the whole communications team for hosting that. It really was wonderful. Again, these awards are given to our employees for their service of 25, 30, and 35 years in our district. And as you know, people are the heart of our success here in D20. And it was just really inspiring to hear the stories and to be with these folks that have had such an amazing commitment and dedication to our students, especially over many years. They're really leaving a very impactful legacy. The top picture there, the teacher with the flowers, is Kim Hittner. And she was, I think, the only one that was celebrated with 35 years of dedicated service. And it was really fun to talk to her. So let's give a hand to all of our amazing employees. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Haberer. We need a motion to approve the consent agenda as posted.
Moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons,
Aye.
Mr. Wilburn,
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez,
Aye.
Mr. Salt,
Aye.
Mrs. Shandy,
Aye. Mrs. Ruckman, can you let us know how many people are on the live stream? Mark, can you let us know how many people are on the live stream? 13 people. All right, we will take a break now for pictures with spotlights and new administrators. Thank you.
Well, we have to go back. Probably in June. Their policies. So there's just more work that has to be done. Venice, where
Okay, we are resuming the meeting. Please find your seats. All right, there are no items pulled from the consent agenda. We are on to our monthly reports. Please find your seats so we can resume the meeting. Thank you. First written report is the monthly financial report through February 2025. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Nope. All right. Summer school programming for summer 2025. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Director Wilburn.
I'd just like to know what our numbers look like compared to last summer. I'm guessing it's pretty similar. And do we anticipate the loss of ESSER dollars? Any impact other than the obvious?
AC Killingsworth. And Andy, that's good.
Okay, so I'm here representing Jill Royer, obviously. So summer school numbers are very comparable to last year. We have good numbers every year, and we just keep increasing the number of students who, especially at the high school level, who want to get ahead, not just make up classes. So yes, that number is similar.
Yeah.
And in terms of ESSER dollars,
Yes, absolutely. Knew that was coming and prepared for it. So tuition that's charged or fees that are charged and or not, were all planned for and anticipated with that reduction and loss of ESSER. So we're sitting well.
And I had one little thing for you. I apologize for not sending this to you. I just forgot. I meant to over the weekend, but there is a program called Foundations and Sounds. It's kind of like a precursor to dyslexia. Susan Barton recommends it for kiddos who can't like even pass her screener. And it's one of those programs I think that could be incredibly impactful in a short amount of time, and just something to look at. I just wanted to throw that out there to you to maybe just investigate, but
absolutely.
Foundations and Sounds.
Thank you.
Yes.
Casey's writing it down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, annual monitoring report for executive limitation policy 2.7, employment compensation and benefit. Does anyone have questions? Okay, my only comment is in previous monitoring report for the policy, I raised concerns about the definition of deviate materially. I continue to believe this warrants further discussion at the board level and have submitted proposed language for that revised definition for a later conversation. Just wanted to bring that comment up. All right, the MRE. Is the superintendent's interpretation of the policy reasonable? Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? All sections in compliance? I couldn't tell from your face. Recognition of exemplary for performance or concerns regarding performance. Would you like to see any additional different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next monitoring report cycle? Beside what I just said, I'd like to look at the definition of deviate materially. Do you see evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? All right, legislative updates. Does anyone have questions or comments? Okay, annual monitoring report or governance policy, process policy 4.14, electronic attendance and participation in school board meetings. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay. MRE, let's see here. Is there any sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? Would you like to see additional different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next monitoring report cycle? Do you see evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? Okay. Presentations. First one up is District Accountability Committee report of school resource priorities for school year 2025-2026. Superintendent Haberer.
Yep, Dr. Field.
Becky, do you want to introduce?
I do. I am always proud each year of the DAC Budget Subcommittee, and these are our two chairpersons, Jenny Rogers and Erin Stevens, and they are going to share with you now the report of the resource priorities for next year, 25-26.
Thank you very much. I'd first like to thank Lauren Yanez because she recognized that as DAC, we get together and we do this and we meet with every single principal and every single feeder strand, and we really put work into this. And so to be able to explain a little bit more in depth the things that stand out as more important seems valid. And so we're happy to be presenting. Okay, so like I said, we're just really going to point out the things that we find to be the most important things, since you can all read. So, okay. So we're going to go through these resource priorities organized according to these different areas. Okay, so when it comes to learning gaps, there are a few things that you'll see. There are a few themes that you'll see that run throughout all of these. So one of the things we really wanted to point out was to continue the district-wide focus on professional learning communities, including PLC late starts. This was talked about so many times in all the different areas. The principals really appreciate this. The teachers, staff really appreciate this. It's incredibly important. Also, pushing out the education to parents, why it's important and what is happening during these times is crucial so that everybody understands why the need is there. I'd like to say that all these things are important, but also we recognize that budgets are tight and they are probably going to get tighter, understanding what's happening in education. So, it's time to start getting a little creative and really focusing and paying attention to the things that the principals are saying are the most important. Providing adequate staffing to support math and literacy intervention and special education programming. We were talking about getting creative when it comes to some of these things, since there are maybe potentially going to be cuts when it comes to these areas. So how creative can we get with these? When it comes to technology and digital resources, consistently replenish and maintain devices, including school-level technology and labs and peripheral technology, such as projectors, televisions, document cameras, and screens, and consider the district's centralization of some technology funding. So the main thing that came up in our feeder strand, which was the Pine Creek feeder strand, but we've heard it in all of the other ones, was that there's the DTT issue, that there's not enough DTT support for each individual school. And the way that it's kind of handed out is not necessarily equal for everybody because it's based on the number of students, the age of the students. So there are some schools who are sharing, and if technology breaks down in certain places, then learning kind of ceases to exist in some areas. So keep that in mind. We're going to come back to it. Manage information technology staffing at the district level. So potentially trying to have the DTTs be more of a district position and having more DTTs and additional DTTs be in the district, and then go out as needed to the different schools. Provide funding assistance to schools when parents aren't able to pay device fees. We talked about this last year as well, that there needs to be a lot of education around free and reduced lunch, and how free and reduced lunch doesn't just mean lunch. Obviously, lunch is now free as of now. That might change, but it's free as of now. So a lot of families think, okay, I don't need to sign up for this anymore. But signing up for free and reduced lunch also enables you to qualify for some extra fees that you may not be able to afford to be covered. And so that education needs to take place at various schools at the district level. That's incredibly important. Okay, the next category, social emotional learning and culture of connectedness. One of the things that was stressed is that learning can't happen if these are not addressed, because at the end of the day, if there's dysregulation and chaos in a classroom or in a school, there won't be learning happening at all. So when I talked about DTT, we also went through all of these social emotional learning, culture of connectedness issues that we talked about. And when I said, would you rather have more school counselors or would you rather have more DTTs? They said school counselors, hands down, no question about it. So as much as that DTT issue was an issue and a conversation that we had at length, they would rather have the school counselors. So the things I want to highlight in here in this category are to continue professional learning regarding how to intervene and support students experiencing anxiety, depression, academic pressures, and/or trauma. And Ms. Yanez and I were talking about how that's incredibly difficult. You know, a lot of people already have a lot of that training, but it's really hard to figure out the line between what you can do and what you can't do. But I do think that everybody is seeing an uptick in dysregulation. So trying to address how maybe we can intervene a little bit better could help if we do not have the social support in the schools necessarily in the form of counselors. Continue with assigning a behavior team to each feeder strand and staff at least one behavior paraprofessional at each school. Increase staffing for additional school counselor positions and move closer to the student to counselor ratios recommended by the American School Counselor Association. I know that some grants have been cut that were in place for school counselors. So I know that the number of school counselors are actually decreasing next year. So this is when it comes back to being creative. I know that there was a lot of attendance at the ASCA conference by the school counselors, and they were just saying, the principals were saying, it's incredibly difficult to try to move closer to the recommendations when you don't have the bodies to back up the work. Staffing a full-time safe counselor in each feeder strand. So that kind of goes with the vertical articulation and the siblings with family trauma. If you're addressing it in the feeder strands, then you're kind of hitting it at all of the points for those families that might have some added trauma. As far as needs that did not exist 3 to 5 years ago, again, greater and challenging social emotional needs of students. We've been talking about this for a while. We've been talking about it since COVID, but now we're pretty far out from COVID and it's still an issue and it's increasing. A greater difference in enrollment levels within various parts of the district. We've talked about that before. Increased levels of challenge related to student behavior needs. More educators considering leaving the profession. So one of the things we talked about was retention and how do you keep staff and teachers and everybody happy when the budgets are tight and you feel like you don't have any more money to give them in terms of their salary. So again, this is about getting creative. The principals were talking about how different primary is from secondary and how different the needs are for a primary teacher versus a secondary teacher, and how we tend to do things based on the needs of the secondary students and teachers and staff, and then it filters down to primary, whereas that might not serve the primary staff as well, the primary teachers as well, because in reality, it's not the same needs that you have in K through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. So maybe taking a bit deeper look at how you can change things a little bit and not just look at what are the high schools doing? Okay, we're going to do that for everybody else. So that comes to that's when it comes to things like contact days. that the contact days are not necessarily needing to be the same for all students and the differing needs and responsibilities at different levels. So maybe if a teacher who's teaching an AP class and a history class, AP European history, and then another history class does not have the same needs or time constraints as a teacher who's teaching every single class the entire day. So it's definitely something to consider when you think about contact days, contact time, PLCs. How can we adjust that to kind of keep teachers feeling like they're heard and they're doing what they need to be doing and they're able to do their best when they're at school? Future needs anticipated 3 to 5 years from now. Addressing differences in enrollment within various parts of the district, including space demands for schools at capacity. Deferred facility maintenance as buildings continue to age. I know that in the past we had talked about a rotating schedule of needs because you know that every single school is going to need a new gym floor at some point. You know that every single school is going to need new theater curtains. You know that every single school is going to these high profile things that exist at every school. You know they're going to need new things. So potentially putting them on a rotating schedule so that not only do the principals are they able to anticipate when those things are going to be done, but maybe being able to save the funds for that, put them aside. The district will know, so the work can perhaps get done a little bit more quickly than it's planned ahead of time. Then you know what contractors you need. Maybe you need more. So it's just one thing that we had talked about. And increased budget constraints from lower state funding and fewer grant opportunities forecasted. So again, that was something that came up many times and is a very large concern. And you talked about the ESSER funds going away with summer school. And I think that a lot of parents now didn't realize that summer school was being partly funded by ESSER funds. So now that the prices have gone up again, people are panicking and they don't understand why. And so I even think that educating people about the fact that this is what it used to cost. I know that they're educated in here. The people that are in here know these things exist, but the greater community does not know that these things exist. They don't know what ESSER is. They didn't know what ESSER did. And now they're just seeing, oh, summer school is extremely expensive and I was planning on this and I don't know how to make it happen. So putting something out saying, this is what it used to cost. This is why it costs less. This is why we are where we are could be useful. High priority facility needs. The only one that we have here is that older facilities being on par with newly constructed facilities for areas such as air conditioning and heating, gym, space, intercoms, bathrooms, furniture, and playgrounds. I think that the bond is trying to address this, but of course there's always going to be schools that are aging. Even Pine Creek, which is seen as like the new high school in the district, opened in 1998. And that's when I graduated from high school. And well, it feels like yesterday and I look like I graduated yesterday. I did not graduate yesterday. So yes, and I would also like to point out that Jenny Rogers is very capable of making this entire presentation herself, but she will be doing this next year, yes, and I will not be. So she's just taking notes. So that's all I've got. If anybody has any questions.
Director Yanez.
Well, I am going to give up a secret here. I'm the luckiest board member because I get to be the DAC liaison and I get to be at these meetings where I get to just interact with all of you really passionate people who love this school district and who want to celebrate the wins and then pick at edges where maybe we can do better, right? And, school funding and finance is in a really tricky spot. I'm a believer that crisis forces creativity. So when you were referring to, creative thinking, I think, yesterday I was listening to the Colorado House of Representatives do their budget work online. I do not recommend, 0 stars. It did not reduce my stress level whatsoever. But, to listen and to prepare and to plan and to understand what's happening, it's our job, right? Thank you for everything you poured into this. I absolutely loved being part of those conversations, talking about each of these things. Now prioritizing gets to be obviously the really tricky part, but what I heard you say is, really listening to our administrators who are in those buildings and getting at some of those needs that way. Just again, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it, all that you put into it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for serving on the budget subcommittee and leading it. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Director, one more question, Director Cons.
Not even a question, more to our administrative staff. But thank you guys. I've had the blessing to getting to be with Dak, and it's a special kind of joy being involved, in our school district that way. But so thank you guys for all the hours and hours and hours that you put in. But I just want to point out, hopefully Mr. Belcher kind of heard those references to educating our wider community better about free and reduced lunch, summer school fees, ESSER funds. And, I've said it before that we can do so much with our principals because people have a variety of methods and ways that they learn the information best. And so not only just blasting it on social media and our district website, but just working with the principals to make real intentional efforts to share information like this, I think would be appreciated. So thank you guys.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it. All right, next up is Challenger Learning Center of Colorado Annual Update. Superintendent and Haber.
I'm going to go to Dr. Field and let you introduce who's here.
Thank you, Superintendent. I'm going to actually have Shane Knight, who's our Director for Curriculum and Instruction, introduce our speaker.
Good evening, and I'm really proud to introduce Becca Manis. She's the Vice President for Challenger Learning Center. Ron Bush, the president, is not able to be here because he's in his own board meeting. I believe they're live streaming this right now.
They are. Thank
So
you very much.
Challenger Learning Center is an amazing program in our district, and it should be a hallmark of what we do. And tonight's been an example of our district's commitment to STEAM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You saw Challenger's partnership with Mountain Ridge Middle School, and Becca's going to talk more about the work that they do, not just with our middle schools, but throughout the district.
Thank you. School board members and Superintendent Haber, thank you very much for inviting us here tonight. We are proud to have a partnership with you and proud of all the students we serve within the district. I have some numbers to share with you that total programs this year were 704 programs across all of our programs, but within the district we did about 271, which is about 9,000 students from the district. As you guys know, you support us in many ways, and one of them is sending all of your middle schools to us at a certain grade level to do the on-site simulated missions, which are our big flagship program. And additionally, you from 2019 until this past year gave us an additional $70,000 in funding, and we use that to cover other programs in other grade levels. Additionally, Challenger, Ron does a great job of finding sponsors and funders to cover more programs, and we were able to cover about $36,000 in programs. So last year we did 303 programs with the district. This year we're down to that 271, and we were able to provide from the center about $17,000 in additional programs. So we're excited. Our programs in general and what we do, and I'd like to give you some highlights of this school year. The first is, there's all the numbers. Chart was there.
Sorry.
Okay, there's the chart. That's what I was speaking about earlier. So you can see we're pretty consistent throughout the last 3 years, and this year just being a little short because of that shortage in some of the funding we had. And then our highlights for this coming school year is that, oh, you got way more.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And I already said that. And yes, we fully exhausted all of those $70,000 funds throughout with the teachers. And in fact, this year we've opened booking and we've got about 84% of the additional funds already used up for next school year's booking program. So that's everything I just said in that last one. And then here's our highlights for this year, that Mountain Ridge Middle School partnership. You saw the students bring in their engineering programs. We've decided to take a strong focus on engineering this year because we realize that that is such a critical need in the STEM fields. And so the Mountain Ridge partnership began, and we are super excited just hearing the students speak tonight. That was my first time hearing them. I hear all the stories when my colleagues get back to work and talking about all the leaps and bounds they see in some of these kids. So we are really excited to hear about that. Additionally, we have new and improved digital discoveries programs. So what our goal is to have persistent STEM engagement from kindergarten until high school, and we feel that Challenger can play a critical role in that in District 20. So with that in mind, we have revamped and kind of reinvented the wheel with what we call digital discoveries. These are programs that are a package. A teacher has a lesson plan. They get a set of materials that we mail to their classroom, and then we meet with them live. So after they teach the lesson plan, we conduct a live lab online with one of our flight directors, followed by follow-up materials. And so these are all this year based on literacy. We wanted to tie everything, every cross-curricular connection we could into these packages. At the K-2 level, we're focused on literacy. So each of these come with a book, and the teacher uses that as the springboard for the labs and for the activities that they do. And then, of course, for that live connection. A huge thank you to Rock Rimmon Elementary. They helped us test some of these and give us some good feedback so that we could tighten them up and make some good programs for anybody who does the digital discoveries. Engineering Pathfinders was a camp that we debuted last year. You met Mr. Carney. He introduced the Mountain Ridge students. He brought to us this perspective that engineering is a word to many people, but it's not a reality. People don't understand it. I always thought it was a woo-woo train conductor. I didn't realize there were all these strands of engineering. And so what we want to do is open the eyes to students that there are several different areas of engineering. So last year we developed a camp that lasted 4 weeks, so a month long. I poo-pooed the idea because I thought we're not going to get parents who want to take that much time out of their summer to sign their students up for 4 consecutive weeks of camp. That was not the case. We had about 17 students sign up. And the first 2 weeks were focused on 4 different engineering concepts. So electrical engineering, I know I was going to forget them because he says them so fast when he says them. 3D design, coding and programming, and then fabrication. So the students learned a crash course in each of those. And by the end of this 4-week time span, they've developed manufacturing teams, engineering teams, and were given the challenge of building a rocket. We simply gave them an Estes rocket engine, and they were challenged to build a rocket that would launch, that would have its own launch pad, that would deploy a rover, that would parachute out and land. And the students went through a week-long session of being assigned roles and going through multiple iterations of things that worked and failed and pushed them to their limits. They had, by the end of the week, several iterations of their rockets and their launch pads, and we laid those out at the end of the week and invited the parents in for a, come in and see the showcase of what your students have been working on all this week. And you can see the distinct differences between the shapes of the rockets, the shapes of the fin, the size of the launch pad. Their rovers started out really big, and then they eventually got really teeny tiny, and their parachutes were really big and they got tiny, and they just learned to be more efficient and develop things that worked. After we shared all the rockets with the parents, we took them out and we launched them. There were only 2 teams, 2 engineering teams. There was a big debate about who won because the first rocket took off, looked beautiful, and landed on the moon, or landed on the roof and did nothing else.
The moon would have been awesome.
Well, it would have been. Yes. The second rocket took off, didn't go very far, but it shot its little rover out, and the rover landed. So there's a big debate, and we didn't feel like we needed to kill it and just let them win with what they had succeeded with, just learning everything they did through that week. So that was our Engineering Pathfinders camp. And then up there, high school internships. We're so proud and excited about this partnership. Last year we had 2 Village Middle School interns who helped us design a high school e-mission platform that we can now use, and we are wrapping up the final work on this high school e-mission that will be deployed soon. And they developed a full-on game that showed the inside of the Orion capsule and integrated a game into it. And they're trying to, and it sounds like a game, but it was really cool because we talked to engineers at Lockheed Martin and they gave us already a 3D designed interior of the capsule, and our students then integrated the challenge into that. This year we have continued that, and we have 2 new interns who are helping us design a robot arm for our simulator, and they are building it from scratch. Every time I walk in the garage and see what they're doing, I am so amazed that they're 3D printing the box. They're running all the little wires and codes, and they were in there with their heads down, and he's like, it's overheating, and it just sounded like it was mission control. It was amazing, and they are working wonderfully. So we love the high school internships, and we hope to see those continue for many years. Now, looking ahead for this coming school year, booking is already opened. As I mentioned, we do have all of our middle school dates set with the middle schools. The district did get a 2-week in advance booking window of anybody else who is booking programs with us. So all those middle school dates are set, and 85% of that additional funding has already been claimed by schools beyond the middle school mission. So we're excited. We know we've got some great kids coming back and great teachers coming back. Also, our engineering Pathfinder camp that I just mentioned with the rocket building has now developed into an idea that we need to rebrand all of our camps. We've always done them with an aerospace focus, but we really think that engineering needs to start as soon as 1st grade. So we're upping the ante. We're adding robotics and coding. We're making sure that they see it from the time they're little and until they get to that engineering academy, which is what we've rebranded the high school program that I mentioned earlier with the rockets not going to the moon, but to the roof. So, so we have 24 of those week-long summer camps. 19 of those are going to be hosted at Legacy Peak. Laura has been a great partner with us and is advertising for us in her newsletter. We've got about 40% of those summer camp spots booked. So we would love any advice or any links we can to getting more information out to students in the district to help get those seats filled for us over the summer. And then we have our Teacher STEM Boot Camp. This is something we've been doing for 15 years. We're excited about this year being our 15th annual year of 2.5 days of teacher professional development at a very minimal cost to teachers. We raised funding to cover most of it. Teachers, usually we have about 100 teachers there. They get priority booking, and they also get, they usually walk away not only with everything that the collaboration and that the presenters share with them, they usually walk away with some materials, and we have a giant checkout library that they can pull from to continue and use these things at school. They don't have to write grants or do anything to try and get these robotics and engineering and Arduino kits that we have. We like to give them to them for free. And Shane and Beth have been great with helping us advertise these programs to teachers. So I think, is that all of me? Yes. And as always, we do want to thank you for your partnership and coming to visit us this year and designing your mission patch. And Ron was so excited about that. We hope you enjoyed your visit, and we look forward to another great school year ahead.
Thank you so much. I know Superintendent Haber and I were at Mountain Ridge last week, I think it was, and we got to see your space. We missed the rocket launches, unfortunately, but we did get to see your space, and it was really, really amazing to see what all they're doing in there.
Good.
So great job, great partnership with that.
Yay, thank you.
Director Yanez? Oh, is that it? Is that our patch? Oh, I hadn't seen it. Sorry. I take it back, Dr. Yanez. No. This is the patch that we created. I hadn't seen it in person yet. When we went, I'll have to check it out. Okay, now Director Yanez.
Thank you so much. Okay, I would be remiss if I did not mention, I noticed that the digital discoveries mentioned K1 and 2. I think you could even challenge yourself to do pre-K, just saying. As I think about opportunities for preschoolers, there's a couple of things like planting those seeds really early for engineering and elevating the work that we do in early childhood as well, right? So it's not just play, but this is wonderful play. It's also, these students are capable of creating patterns, right? Using color, some number recognition, some letter recognition at that time, right? But that's just something I was thinking about as you were speaking. I thought, oh, if you ask a few preschool teachers in this district, I am sure that they would love to embark on that kind of project.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
point taken. It's something I think we've talked about and just not had the capacity to get to. But this year, I think since we've got these locked in, we will have time to expand.
I'm just mentioning.
No, I appreciate it.
But then another idea, nextdoor.com, marketing your camps, get that out there. You can reach a lot of people. Grandparents such as myself would love to help make that happen for grandkids, but sometimes we just don't know. So that's just another place to kind of get the word out that, hey, we're doing this and we'd love to have your kids.
Okay, I'll check it out. Thank you.
Director Wilburn?
Great stuff. A couple of things in your report kind of jumped out. You mentioned the internal funding being down, and that you couldn't miss that. You couldn't miss that when reading the report. It was almost half. I think in 24 it was around 36,000. 25 was around 17,000. What happened?
Some of these questions are going to be Ron questions that Becca may not be able to answer, but I think that we have gone through some ups and downs with some of our sponsors who were very big on promoting STEM. And then when we've gone back to them and years post-COVID, they've decided that they're going to shift gears and focus more on high school programs. And so we've encountered some of those things that have kind of thrown off what we have just for the general pool of students.
I live in the world of philanthropic giving. I know all about it.
Is that an offer?
I can write checks with the best of them. You want a check? I'll write you a check.
I'll take a check.
Just don't drop it. And then it mentioned, so the Pathfinders Academy necessitated repurposing a garage into an engineering workshop, which is great.
It did.
Does the garage get repurposed, or is that now on the to-do list for later in life?
It is fully engineering lab set up, and we have interns working in there now.
Okay.
We do not ever break it down or move it. We are planning on trying to maybe expand and do potentially after school programs, but these are just kind of pipe dreams.
So that's its new home.
Yes.
Cool.
It's an amazing maker space. They've got a technological maker space, and then this one has more of your hand tools and such. It's awesome to be in there, especially when there's kids in there working.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have annual monitoring report for ends 1.2 character. Superintendent Haber.
That's Tacey Killingsworth.
Evening. So I'm here to talk with you about our ends 1.2 character monitoring report. So just for background, we have given either a climate and culture survey combined, or we also separated it a few years ago since 2004 to really get excuse me, stakeholder feedback and student feedback around how that's working in District 20. This past school year, 23-24, we shifted and didn't give our culture and climate survey, but we gave the student experience survey. And that student experience survey was in partnership with Hanover Research, which we do a lot of our surveys with. And it was focused on staff, parents, and students' perception of overall satisfaction, school belonging, social and academic environment for students, engagement, and then outreach and district priorities. So this survey was a little bit different than our climate and character survey. So we don't have correlation data regarding character traits specifically on that survey, and I'll explain what we're going to do moving forward. But for the character report this year, what we did is we gathered, which I know we've talked a lot about as a board, just that qualitative data from each of our schools to outline how are we teaching, well, what resources are we using, and how are we teaching and developing character traits within each of our schools? And then what does that student output look like? How are they demonstrating that? So I know you were given a board packet, and in that board packet, you have obviously the character traits, and then you also have each of the resources that our schools identified using and a definition of that. I thought that would be helpful for you to just understand which resources schools are using and what that definition for that particular program is. And then you also have the output of each of our schools, and we'll talk about that. So as you know, we have our Board-In's character statement that all students will develop the qualities of character necessary to be exemplary citizens and positive contributors to society. And we utilize the same definitions, which you see on the screen there, that we identified several years ago when we started giving the character survey. And then this year, what we did is we created a form for schools to answer 3 very specific questions. First of all, what resources and programs do you use to teach character? How do you ensure that students develop those qualities necessary to exemplify citizens and positive contributors to society? And then we asked them to provide specific stories or examples, which I think is the power of how we see their instruction in action. And so, again, this is just a list of the various programs and resources. What's important to note is that as a site-based district, if you will, schools have different communities and different ways resources they think are important in teaching that character development. So some of our schools use Capturing Kids' Hearts, some of them don't. We have IB schools who really focus in on that IB learner profile. Castle Core Competencies is really something that all of our schools are grounded in when we think about what we want students to be able to do. And then there's other programs. Ruler, as you know, is one that is across our elementaries for consistency. But Kelso's Choice, which I'm not completely familiar with, but is a newer program that some schools are really utilizing to help students understand how to make choices. So you'll see in the big packet part for each school which one of those resources or which they use more than one in most of our schools. And then what is really great, these are just some of the highlights. I mean, obviously you can read by school of how we actually teach and develop character within our schools. A lot of our schools, especially at the elementary, use morning meetings, and even middle school, where they really talk about those character traits, explain what they are, and really have that direct instruction. Oftentimes this is done through reading and writing. You will have both all levels really thinking about when we're reading the books, how are the characters in those books displaying the character traits that we're developing in our students and what we value. Many of our schools have a monthly character trait focus. So a lot of times you'll hear in schools when you're there, students talking about what the character trait is that we're focusing on, what it means, and how can you be thinking about demonstrating that as students. Of course, we have counselors providing guidance lessons, lots of team building activities. Community engagement is a huge piece that you see our schools really talk about how our students can get out and serve the community. You saw that in examples tonight. A lot of our schools do awards recognition assemblies where they can recognize those students for displaying those character traits. We have a lot of mentorship programs, especially at the middle and high school when they mentor the 6th graders and 9th graders coming in. And then we have a freshman success class where we've really focused on, first of all, how to navigate high school, but then how do you do that, demonstrating character. And then the students in action, this was my best part. I read through this entire thing, and it's just so fun to see how our kids demonstrate these character traits in action. These are just a few, but as you see up there, and I'm sure you read, we have 36 unique examples of how character in action is displayed at our schools. Bald for Bucks is a huge thing, and a few schools recognized different ways that students demonstrated that character, especially when they think about empathy and compassion. The Make-A-Wish Foundation, we had schools fundraising for kids who really needed some support. Harvest of Love is a huge competition within our district. I know Chinook Trail Middle School always brags that they're the winning school for getting the most for Harvest of Love. Some of the great things was students mentoring students. We have great systems in our high schools for our freshmen coming in of how we really latch onto them and support them through the older students mentoring them. And then students demonstrating inclusive practices. I think you read many examples of that, but some of the things that stood out to me was especially for our students in our significantly support needs classes, how our gen ed peers welcome them in. They're a part of the classroom. We're all together in this, right? Another one I think you read in there was about when new students come in, teachers often don't have to show them the ropes, students do it, right? And just that inclusivity of when you come to Academy District 20 school, you're part of us now. And then, as I spoke earlier, this year we don't have the survey data that's comparable, but what we have been working on, Jolynn Patterson is kind of the lead on our support and partnership work with Hanover. And so for our student experience survey that we're going to administer this spring, we have questions directly related to those character traits, and we're asking students, staff, and parents their perspective on how our schools developing character within their students, whichever school they attend. So we will have baseline data to report out next year, and then we'll continue to solicit the feedback that you have in your packet this year, that qualitative data of like, how are we teaching it? How are we seeing it exemplified within our schools? And then,
right now, in our board ends, it lists as the characters, traits that Tracy talked about. And something I like for the board to think about, probably in one of our upcoming retreats, is do we want to go to, as you remember, Portrait of a Graduate, we had so much amazing stakeholder feedback. We had students, we had parents, we had our patrons, we had our business partners. I did that right when I came through the United Way. Our business roundtable folks have reached out and helped us with this. So there was so much district-wide feedback on this Portrait of a Graduate. And these were the competencies when we took all of that feedback and condensed it. So a question I have for you as a board is, I'd like for us to maybe consider looking at those characteristics that are in our board ends now, and does it make sense to maybe not have all of them, maybe keep a few, but have these ones embedded, because this is the document that, and the process, we've already started. As you know, Jamin Pariseau, Dr. Pariseau has done a year-long process with high schools. They've developed these wonderful plans on how they intend to take the Portrait of a Graduate and embed it in the high schools based on what they're already doing, but being intentional to say, okay, when we're doing National Honor Society and we're doing all of these community service kinds of projects, we're really being a contributing citizen. What does that mean? So tying these to what they're doing, and also if they see one of these competencies that it's like a whole, like, well, I don't know if we really have anything school-wide where we're really focusing on this. They're also addressing that. We've asked them they put together plans, and we're going to keep working on that. And then we're going to bring the middle schools into that process next year, and the following year, the elementary. So this is the document that is a district-wide document. It's not just a lovely thing that sits on a shelf. It's really going to drive our work around character development. So just something to think about in a future retreat. Is that something that, you know, we want to look at the board ends? I think they were established a while ago, which is great, but now we have this process. How do we make it all align? And that's really about that alignment piece. So I'm excited about that process.
I think that'd probably be a very valuable conversation to have. Anybody else have thoughts on that?
Tacey, are you done? Or can we start with questions?
I am questions.
I just want to let
It's all
go.
you.
Director Cons.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. So Maureen used to get to hear me harp on this, and now you do. So these 10 character traits, I did express this to Superintendent Haber that I'm old school and I love them, but I also find value in aligning with our Portrait of a Graduate because it's been such amazing work. So that being said, these 10 character traits, you know, integrity, courage, respect, citizenship. One, I'm glad that a lot of them are named in the Portrait of a Graduate, but for thousands and thousands of years, these are the epitome of what it means to be fully human, fully engaged in the world around you in the most virtuous way possible. And the way I explain it, that I think of it, is that our 10 character traits are outward focused: compassion, excellence, citizenship, hope, courage. They're others focused. And when we conflate reporting, we do a lot of good stuff specific to these character traits in our schools, especially all the service-oriented programs. But when we mix those character traits with SEL-based programs that I feel are more inward focused, it's kind of the foundational getting students right with themselves to be able to go out into the world and exemplify these 10 character traits. I would love to see even more of a focus, and this is just a couple words, everyone else is going to have all the great ideas, but just of focusing more on community service, others, service to others. And that is going to do so much to bring the level up of the 10 character traits in our ends that students are experiencing. So there's a lot of important work, like Aaron brought up with, all of the DAC priorities. There's a lot of important work for behavior, monitoring self, but I like to see those separate in our report about our board ends. So I just want to point that out.
Director Cons, I think that I think it's going to be helpful that we've already shifted that because the survey before was just a self-report by students. Do you think you have courage or integrity and that kind of thing? So it's more that inward focus, like you're saying. And I really feel like if we're going to have something in the ends, we need to have a way to measure it, right? And so what we talked about, if you guys remember last year, is we said, how do we measure the student experience? How do we know by what students are participating in, whether it's community service, whether it's being on a sports team, and then and we're still figuring out how to do this, which is part of what ends are, right? Because you are always being creative to figure out how you can measure certain things. And just because you can't measure it doesn't mean we shouldn't aspire to figure out how we can do that. But we have many students too who participate in activities outside of the school, right? They're doing karate, they're doing, gymnastics, some of these other kinds of activities, scouts. And so we are working on right now, how do we collect that data? And I know that Jolene's been saying, okay, how with principals, how can we collect that so we can get a full picture of how many students are involved in some of these other kinds of activities, and even if maybe it's a home-based kind of activity I just remember as a Girl Scout, my mom used to sit with me and we'd work together on badges, right? I would count that as character development because I learned a lot through that process. So how do we capture that? And then as we look at the students, and if we even have a way all the way down to the student, which we may eventually have with our district-wide dashboard that we're going to roll out into next year, to me, then are there some students who haven't had that kind of support, and how do we identify them so we can say 100% of our students are involved in something? They get that in the classroom, but also how are they demonstrating that by their participation in some of these kind of activities, and then even what they're demonstrating in class. I think we can infer if students have a high attendance rate, they're probably developing the character, because we know our teachers and our paraprofessionals and our counselors every day, people are the heart of our success. So they're working together to create that character. But like you're saying, what are those outside examples? And that's what we're attempting to measure through that student success survey, as opposed to the inward one that we've had before. So I think we're on the road to that.
Yes, absolutely. And I appreciate, as soon as you started, you found a way to start making this quantifiable with participation in extracurricular activities and stuff. And again, I love Tacey's report where she just highlights, the character in action, because this is what I think of when I think of our 10 character traits, is all the mentorship, the web crews, the Bald for Bucks, the food drives, clothing drives. And so, but and this is extremely valuable, the reports we've been getting the last couple years from each school, but that's specifically what I'm referring to, is we just haven't hit the mark completely. I mean, we're always, all of us individually and corporately are a work in progress, but I don't think we're hitting the mark specific to these 10 character traits when schools also refer to other SEL type programs and not just the 10 character traits programs for that. So just important for me to differentiate.
And I would say as a board, we're starting to develop our retreat ideas, right? Because this is the way we've traditionally reported out on that, and we've talked about it, but we didn't as a board say this is what we want, something different other than what you shared before. And then we started that work on Portrait of the Graduate, which was really kind of moving in that direction. So when we get to that question, is moving forward, what do we want that's different? I think, like, I hear what you're saying, but I don't know what that is. And I don't think we know as a board what that looks like. So we just need some time. So I appreciate you putting that question out there.
Director Yanez.
I think, Nicole, I think I'm understanding you, but tell me if I'm way off base. But so I was trained on capturing kids' hearts. I've used PBIS, trained on Ruler and MetaMoment. I think the connection piece that might be missing, and let me know if I'm on base. Oh, IB learner profiles. Okay, is through Ruler. When I realized that I've made a mistake with a friend, I need to take responsibility, right? And go back to that person and make amends. When I am awarded a Roar Punch, shout out to Woodman Roberts, in our PBIS system, I showed that I was responsible because I remembered my poster board for my presentation, but forgot it last time. So like connecting those character traits with the tool, it does that. Like we do that using these. Capturing kids' hearts is, I think, more of that relationship piece with students, but it's been a hot minute since I've reviewed that, so I'd have to go back. I probably could argue citizenship in that one. So I think maybe doing like some a crosswalk of the tools with the character traits versus the tools with the activities might be where we could flesh that out. So you could see, okay, so, and we could use a couple examples. What does the PBIS system at Woodman Roberts do versus the PBIS system at another school? What are their, so everybody has an acronym, right? And Woodman Roberts was ROAR, and it was responsibility, on task, attitude in check, and respect. Something. And so you were catching kids doing that, right? And those were the 4 that we just chose to do. So I think that we could make that part of that, and I would be happy to create a worksheet.
Yay. Start our retreat off right. But no, thank you for pointing out those connections, because I do think that is the missing piece. If we are intentional about, because all of these programs give us the format, give us the ways to measure. And so if we're intentional about calling out the character traits that we as a board think are the most crucial for the success of these students, I appreciate you saying that we can find the corollary. Yeah, because capturing kids' hearts, the IB traits, a lot of those overlap with our character ends. So, every school does it differently, but thank you, because that'll be helpful.
And I think, just so we don't lose the essence of it, we have a retreat. I think if you read through all the case studies that, that Tacey put together, you see a reflection of that in the work, right? As you read through it. So I think it really kind of sounds like we kind of need even like maybe an overhaul on how we're looking at it and what we're doing. And like I said, we've already been changing with Portrait of Graduate. We've been changing with having a different way of doing the survey. So I think we're on the way to those changes, and we did those things in response to what we heard last year. I think I had a few months into it, and we had it. So that's what we operate on for this time. But I think, what would that, it would be like, how do you collect that in a way where it's not a lot of work on the principles. It's something we could just pull. But I think what I'm hearing too is being more intentional to say, okay, we have PBIS, here's the characteristics, and every school could kind of connect it, whatever their program is. I think that's kind of what you're thinking, isn't it, Lauren? Perfect.
Yeah, it's just, they're two different things. There's such a need for behavior-based, SEL type things for a lot of our students, as we've been hearing from the principals. But there's also a need to instill all these character traits. And so I just don't want to leave out some of these things when we could be bringing all of our students up to this higher level.
No, I think it's, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. There's two other things I wanted to add. I wrote them down as Tacey, as you were talking, but two things that I think really we have to make sure that we're defining these character traits or for students continually, because we don't come, automatically programmed knowing what all these things are, and providing constant examples, and then ability and opportunity for students to reflect, right? Which I think is really great in theory, but tough when you start talking about schedules and time. But that's when you get at that. It's like, oh, I actually was this thing, but I have to reflect on my experiences and be given opportunities to show that. But I have to have direct instruction around that first, and really strong examples of what that looks like. And so, yes, going back to that conversation about intentionality, making sure we're being intentional about those pieces, especially for our students, and me being one of them as a kid that grew up in, some tough circumstances. I needed that example in front of me. So, for our students who we've already identified through our work through DAC, who are already struggling, I really believe that those examples of persistence and perseverance and love are really life-changing as well. So yes, we'll get to the other ones, but giving them space to see and then reflect is going to be a huge piece of it as well.
So I appreciate that you said that about the definition. So I put this slide back up. There were hours and hours of work that went into these definitions. And so I think in general, I'm already thinking about, what we just need to say. I think a first step is let's look at those others. Let's look at this. Where do we want alignment? Because I'm going to tell you, if we have this and we're doing a full, court press on getting this out, but now we've got these other ones, it's going to cause, it's going to be hard, right? And so I'm also wondering, this is something we could do at the retreat. Can we do some crosswalk between some of these and what we have here? And, if there's something big that's missing, maybe we can make sure that that gets kind of folded in here. But if we have two sets, I just think that, I think people will be overwhelmed, and I just don't think we'll get the results that we want.
Great discussion, though. Really appreciate everyone's input. So great. Thank you so much, Ms. Killingser.
Yep.
All right, next up, preliminary revenue assumptions for fiscal year 2025-2026. Superintendent Haberer.
Becky Allen.
Can you hear me okay?
Great.
It is hard to believe that we are in the part of the school year that I am saying that next month, that on May 8th, we will bring the proposed budget to the Board of Education for its consideration, preemptively knowing that the end goal is in June, that the board will consider adoption of a budget. This report this evening gives you some insights into the revenue outlook for the upcoming budget. It does not get into the details of reducing expenses to yield resources. It's simply about how our revenue resources will specifically grow, maybe decrease or end because it was a one-time revenue source. So I will make a few highlights and then be happy to take any questions that you have. So if you take a look at item 1 on page 2 in the report, we go ahead and identify the per pupil revenue that is anticipated. Now, it's important to know that the School Finance Act was just introduced on April 2nd. In the House, it was introduced and it's still there in the House. So we do not have a final School Finance Act. Keep in mind that the legislative session does not end until May 8th, the evening of the board meeting. It's absolutely possible that I could stand before you that evening and not have a passed School Finance Act. We hope, my fingers are crossed, that does not happen. But we need to be working towards, obviously, as we have for months, working on what are our assumptions as we build this budget, because we certainly can't wait until the last minute to put this together. So we try to take clues throughout the process, and certainly when the School Finance Act was introduced, we got runs from the Colorado Department of Education that give us insight into what our per pupil revenue might be, again, if the act were not amended or changed. So we have to watch it closely. But what we see so far is an increase of about $307 per student. That's about a 2.87% increase over what we have in this year's mid-year budget. I also always find it helpful to bring some context about what was I sharing 1 year ago about what the PPR increase would be, $702. So you can see that's a significant difference, almost a $400 difference per student. It's important to note that this year was our first year since its inception that we did not have a budget stabilization factor, also referred to as the negative factor. We still don't have one in what's projected next year, but I want to be clear that this clearance of the budget stabilization factor is reflected in the $307 increase. There's not some other pool of money that's coming from the elimination of the budget stabilization factor. On page 2, another critical component is student enrollment. Because obviously the total program funding we receive is that per pupil revenue amount times the number of students. Now the district is projecting a decrease over the entire district for next year of 43 students. Now that gets translated to what's called funded pupil count. When we talk about 43 students, that's head count. Funded pupil count takes into account, for example, a part-time student is equal to 0.5, a full-time student is 1.0, etc. So as we build our budget, we need to build that off of a funded pupil count calculation. And we are projecting a decrease of 106.5 from this current year. That you might be thinking, how in the world do you get that when we're just decreasing by 43 students or projecting that for next year? It is because this year's funded pupil count is artificially inflated by the averaging that occurs at the state level. And this year's funded pupil count is based on a 4-year average. Next year, there's been a lot of talk about averaging, and as you know, you have done a great job from the superintendent to the board advocating at the state legislative level to maintain averaging, because the governor brought in his request in November to eliminate enrollment averaging to make the expense that the state has to fund K-12 education lower. Because as many of you know, when we think about where the state of the budget is in Colorado, it is in the hole by 1.16 billion with a B dollars. So the state is trying to look anywhere they can to save money. The clues that we have right now, the introduced School Finance Act, good news, it shows 4-year averaging next year. However, there has been transparency about an assumption that it would go to 3 years after. And then could it go lower? Then they say something maybe like a smoothing factor. I don't know if that means a 2%, like a 2-year averaging, we don't know. But it's something we need to be aware of as we build our budget, that we have to take pause on some of our big expenses to think, like with salaries as an example, we've already shared with our staff members that we are prioritizing salaries and benefits. However, we most likely need to look at a mix of recurring salary increases with one-time because we don't know what the future holds, so we don't want to overextend our expenditures. So as we look to plan for our budget next year, we are assuming 2-year averaging because again, we want to be conservative and not overestimate. That also gives us some leeway should enrollment not come in as strong as projected. So again, it's some of those conservative approach. We balance it with maximizing what we can do for our students and staff while also making sure that we're conservative and do not overextend and put ourselves in a position that cannot be sustained year after year. Please know that we will most likely come with these numbers in the proposed budget unless they change drastically between now and then. We would certainly update you on May 8th of that. But we always have that opportunity in the mid-year budget in January where we true everything up. We true up the per pupil revenue, we true up our enrollment as well. The third thing I want to point out before I take questions is on page 3, item 8. Which is just a look at what does this equate to in dollars when you say that our per pupil revenue is increasing? Well, based upon the enrollment and the per pupil revenue amount that we just talked about, that's an additional $6.7 million for next year. However, 1.5 million of that flows to our charters. So we're really looking at new revenue of 5.2 million from the School Finance Act. For context again, what number did I share at this time a year ago? 13.3 million. So again, just contextualizes the difference. And we always keep in mind 1% salary increase with the salary dollars and the benefits is about now $2.1 million. So you can see what type of buying power that's there in terms of a $5.2 million versus a 13.3. So again, you will see us again on May 8th. What questions do you have for me?
Great job, Mrs. Allen. Thank you so much for keeping us updated on that.
You're welcome.
You have a
Thank
fine
you.
job.
Thank you. And thank you for your advocacy. It's made a tremendous difference. I am absolutely confident in that. So thank you.
Mr. Belcher, how many people have signed up to speak during public comment section 1?
We have one speaker tonight.
All right, the board welcomes the comments of our community members. We greatly value all comments from the public, but in order to adhere to board policy and accomplish the work ahead already on the agenda, the board and superintendent will not respond at the meeting. Speakers may offer appreciation for or criticism of school operations and programs as concern them, but are encouraged to exercise their speech rights responsibly, as they are personally responsible for any legal consequences attributed to their comments, including claims for defamation. Please keep in mind that students often attend board meetings. Speakers' remarks, therefore, should be suitable for an audience that includes kindergarten through 12th grade students, including no use of profanities or obscenities. Comments concerning personnel matters should be directed to the superintendent or board president in writing with your signature. Supplemental written materials can be given to the security guards, and they will be delivered to the board secretary. The board president will recognize each speaker, and consistent with GP 4.04, comments will be curtailed if remarks or behavior becomes inappropriate. The board president may interrupt, warn, or terminate a speaker's statement that is unrelated to the business of the school district, inappropriate for K through 12 students, or disruptive to the orderly, civil, and productive meeting. Thank you for your cooperation.
Our commenter for public section number 1 is Katie Chukas.
I have to push a button. Okay, I'm good to go. My name is Catherine Chukas. I live in the district. I'm an Air Academy high school parent. I'm still the SAC parent co-chair, and I'm excited to continue that with a great student co-chair next year. And my topic is about the board calendar and item 11D, which you were just hearing about. I really want to bring to your attention the sentences at the bottom of page 1 and the top of page 2. This is about the process to approve the budget. There are 3 meetings which must take place with board members present before June 30th. But as I see the calendar for May and June, there are not 3 meetings scheduled on the ASD20.org calendar involving the board. Even with your current meeting schedule, the first meeting that you could have about the budget at the May meeting on the 8th, that may not be able to happen. You've just heard that based upon the state legislative session. So maybe that state legislative session will end, or maybe it won't. And so, and maybe the School Finance Act will be decided earlier, but really will it? Do you know? Does anyone know? It really seems like you should give this great finance team an extension and move the presenting of the D20 budget to later in May. That should be your first meeting. The second meeting is a budget hearing. The school board budget also needs to be publicized, and given that time of year in May, after the last day of school, it would suggest publicizing it to the greater community with sufficient notice, lots of notice, through sources that reach my neighbors and encourage them to attend. They are retirees. They do not have kids in school. And then there's the third meeting to approve the budget. I think last year that was handled in an odd way with a Zoom meeting sometime in June. But personally, I'm not sure that's the best course. We're not in a year where the resources are going up. You just heard this. We're in a fiscal year where resources are really going down and hard decisions need to be made. Please, board, think about a calendar for 3 very clear meetings in May and June.
Thank you. Your time is up. Appreciate your comments. Mr. Belcher.
That concludes our public speakers for section 1.
All right, there are no decision items for this meeting. Mr. Belcher, how many people have signed up for speak during comment section 2?
We have 8 speakers. This evening, we're going to call up speakers and announce the next speaker who is on deck for the mic. Our speaker who's on deck is next up and is welcome to move up and sit in the front row so they're ready when they're called. Our first speaker is Elizabeth Clay Del Rio, followed by Angela Blunt, who is on deck.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm 23. I'm a college student. I come here because I really care about the students of this district and everybody who comes together to support them. And the way that I like to show that is just by praying over the meeting in the district. Father God, thank you for this day and for every single day that you've given us. Lord, I just want to pray over this district and some of the topics that we talked about today, God. I pray that you would help these people, help these students, God, to have joy as you have joy, a joy that can supersede circumstances, that isn't only dependent on circumstances, not ignorant of them, God, but is able to hold a joy even in the face of hardship, and is able to be pure as you are pure, God, having character both inwardly and outwardly, God, just helping to build these things, learning how to support our students in them, to support our staff in them, and just in all these areas, God, help us to make this work, God, and to be a unified people that are able to produce students that are good and upstanding citizens, God, that take up for the good of those around them. Thank you. In Jesus' name I pray and give much thanks. Amen.
Our next speaker is Angela Blunt, followed by Tim Hoffman, who's on deck.
Thanks for serving on the board. I speak peace and blessings over your lives and the lives of all your family members. Now, the disturbances in the meetings have been unacceptable over the last couple of months. In most classrooms, there are clear rules, and when those are broken, there are consequences. The consequences are not for the whole class, but only for the rule breakers. This is your classroom, and you have complete authority here. You are strong and courageous. Do not shrink back in fear for anything or anyone. You have security covering this room at all times and a police officer here tonight. Please use them to remove the offenders. Fear not. The disturbances that we have been experiencing have unfortunately taken us away from our most important matter, the children. I've been watching the test scores monthly, and I have 2 concerns. One, there is way too much testing. It wears out the students, the teachers, and the administration, and the results, quite frankly, are overrated. 2, there is too much emphasis placed on these scores when the emotional, social, spiritual, and mental well-being of every student is far more important. As a former educator, I look back and know that few, if any, students talk to me after the bell about testing or their scores, yet far more frequently came to see me for deeper issues ranging from self-worth to suicide ideations, especially over the past decade. Many students are crying out in so many ways that are very serious and severe. We need to answer by providing more true and effective resources. I'm not suggesting abandoning all test taking, but we can table some. We must prepare our students to survive in our world, see the value of their lives, and learn how to properly handle stress, debilitating anxiety, and depression, as well as other challenges, while seeing themselves as strong, functioning human beings as God.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next commenter is Tim Hoffman, followed by Veronica Baker.
Oh my God, I'm here for like the billionth meeting in a row to say the same thing over and over and over and over again. The cowardice of the previous leadership was such that it would do nothing to address this. With our recent presidential transition, I feel no more confident or optimistic about the character and integrity of the board or its willingness to do the right thing. In fact, I feel even worse knowing that this new leader is cut from the same cloth and lacking in the same areas of character, morals, and integrity. But as long as I have a student in this district, I'll be here to chirp about it. So sing along if you know the words. This Academy District 20 board continues to harbor a board member who has proven to not care about bringing reputable character and strong integrity to this district's leadership. This member has openly and admittedly doxed the district family in an attempt to get others to harass, intimidate, or harm them, claimed ownership of intellectual property and lied to both government and corporate entities about it, wished the physical harm to district parents in leaked chats, skipped the first day of school to harass and defame a parent in a public city council meeting, encouraged other equally hateful community members to engage in defamation of a district parent, read vulgar, denigrating, offensive words out loud at a student-run forum, and has sued a district parent in attempts to silence any public comment regarding them. Any one of those single bullet points is more than enough to deem this board member unworthy of this role. Yet, most of this board is only interested in their own political endeavors or the goals of those backing them. Otherwise, how could you hear these verifiable truths and not move towards encouraging this individual to willingly resign from the board to save what little integrity is left? If this board truly cares for the students and teachers of this district, and if this board member is truly an advocate for D20 kids, indeed, and not just in the name of a Facebook group, then they would willingly choose to resign their role, as their mere presence in this space is harmful to the district as a whole. You guys are only strong as your weakest link, and right now your weakest link is super weak. Be better. I gotta run back to a track meet. Thanks.
Our next speaker is Veronica Baker, followed by Rob Rogers on deck.
Previously, I've spoken about concerns our community has had around special education, and as this academic year is closing, I'm conscious of hearing about case managers, paraeducators, and service staff not returning. It's especially disturbing to hear about case managers leaving in the middle of the year. As a parent of a student in special education, I hope that we're listening closely to those exit interviews and finding ways to retain excellent staff. I also wanted to express my support for the HB 25-107 bill, which promotes and ensures qualified staff to work as speech-language assistants. My children have been very lucky to have experienced quality in-person speech pathologists and assistants. They have made encouraging progress on their communication goals. Speech pathologists provide integral insight into our kids' challenges and their successes. They are an important team member. Moving to a different subject, and while I still have the opportunity tonight, I'd like to speak about the recent changes to public comment for board meetings. This past year, I've been able to speak at many local meetings, city council, county commissioners, library board, and PTA meetings. The standard for public comment that I've experienced has always been to provide speakers with 3 minutes, which at times can feel rushed, but not nearly as rushed as 2 minutes. Another important component for public testimony has been applause. Applause has always been an accepted part of showing agreement and appreciation for those who have the courage to express their thoughts. Many other local school boards, such as Woodland Park and D49, allow clapping after their speakers. At D20, though, it has been deemed as lacking decorum. We've been clapping for years at board meetings, and now we find it unacceptable. When did we become so intolerant? And if you are so moved to clap after a speaker, the consequences are draconian. The penalty for clapping started off as being directed to the hallway for a timeout, and now we have to stop the meeting completely and reconvene on a completely separate day and time. We've lost sight of how to work together, how to collaborate around expectations, and the result of this fallout is such animosity and division.
Our next speaker is Rob Rogers, followed by Leah McFan.
Good evening. It's not hard to notice that the carefully curated facade of D20 is crumbling and it's happening fast. Over the last 2 years, D20 has racked up more than $500,000 in legal fees. The district's carrying hundreds of millions in deferred maintenance. 2 board members evidently wanted to win, but can't be bothered to finish the work and finish their terms. Honestly, I've got a pool going on who's going to bail next. And add to that a validated campaign violation complaint from the Secretary of State's office. And just today, a little bird told me about another lawsuit, this one tied to executive sessions ballooning to nearly a quarter of your total meeting time. So transparency, it seems, is in free fall. And still, somehow, a board member is suing a constituent parent for calling out a bad decision. The district has one of the highest per capita SPED violation rates in the state, and some of those cases are truly outrageous. And yet, in spite of all of this, the board chose to spend 3 hours in executive session discussing how to legally prevent people from clapping at board meetings. Really? You have a district with real problems, urgent ones, and you're burning time and taxpayer dollars debating applause. And you sent the superintendent, district council, and cabinet members to small claims court over $7,500, which is a fraction of what you actually cost yet another parent in legal fees. What are you doing? If D20 were a house, it would be on fire, and you are all seem fixated on whether the neighbors are cheering or booing from the sidewalk. It's not just embarrassing, it's a dereliction of duty. When will the board stop insulating itself from accountability and start addressing the issues that actually matter to students, parents, and the future of the district? Because we're all waiting. Mr. Wilburn, I'm genuinely looking forward to your court appearance next Friday. It's not every day you get to watch one of the country's top anti-SLAPP litigators dismantle a frivolous retaliatory lawsuit in real time. So it should be quite the civics lesson.
Our next speaker is Leah McFan, followed by Bernadette Guthrie on deck.
Hi, my name is Leah McFan. I am a resident in the district and I'm a staff member. I want to start by saying I've written many versions of these comments, not because I don't know what to say, but because I have so much to say and not nearly enough time to say it. We opened tonight by celebrating administrators stepping into new roles. And while I genuinely believe in recognizing good people doing important work, it struck me. Because I've been asked many times if I've ever considered going into administration. My answer has always been, heck no, that sounds like the worst part of my job. But lately I get it. For many, it's not about a passion for administration, it's about survival. It's about staying in education without staying poor. The truth is, most educators don't leave the classroom because they want to, they leave because they have to. And that's where I am right now. Last year was one of the hardest years of my career. I was ready to walk away. In fact, I came back kind of kicking and screaming this year. But this year has been redemptive. My classroom is full of life, joy, and learning. I remember why I love this work, and I proudly say that I am dang good at it. But the catch, I can't afford to live. I coach 2 sports, I have a private tutoring business, and I write curriculum. And I shouldn't have to do all of that to afford to live semi-comfortably in the district with a roommate in a townhome that I'll never be able to purchase on my own. Today, one of my students asked me why so many of their teachers live so far away from school, and I told them the truth. We can't afford it. Meanwhile, central admin salaries keep climbing, the blanket percent raises, and those of us in the classroom doing the daily face-to-face work with students are left behind. That gap sends a clear message. The further you are from kids, the more you're worth. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how a, quote, modest 1% raise isn't even enough money to cover the increase in benefits, and I'm not the only teacher tired of being gaslit into thinking that it's impossible to pay us a livable wage.
Your time is up.
Our next speaker is Bernadette Guthrie, followed by Emily Vonachin.
They say protect the children, but they don't mean the children of the parents they disagree with.
They say protect the children, but bully the mothers who advocate for their children unless those mothers parrot their politics. They say protect the children, but they vote for men who read porn to kids and then praise them for it while knowing real children were harmed by this disgusting behavior. They say protect the children, but refuse to do the bare minimum to protect a child from her abuser at her school. They say protect the children, but prioritize wants over needs when passing a bond. They say protect the children, but spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a lawsuit fighting SPED violations instead of spending that money on students. They say protect the children, but they don't mean the children of immigrants, Title I students, or non-Christian students. They say protect the children, but ignore the rampant racism happening in our schools every day. They say protect the children, but they bully educators. They drive out experienced teachers, all while denying them basic pay and respect. They say protect the children, but demand a fully conservative board that is not representative of the community you represent. Research shows, consistently shows that diverse school boards are more effective and better aligned with student outcomes. But they don't want effective government. They want control. They say protect the children and shout academic excellence like a slogan, but don't support the programs that would help raise scores. So no, they don't want to protect the children. They want to create fearful, uninformed voters. They want to control the narrative, not serve the public, but to manipulate it. If you really want to protect the children, then support all parents, respect your teachers, and start focusing on the issues that matter.
Our final commenter is Emily Vonachin.
Hi, my name's Emily Vanaken. I'm a parent and I live in the district. The Team One slogan might make a nice social media post, but if it weren't for the crumbling reality D20 families are facing, you say our teachers and staff are the heart of our success, but how can a heart keep beating when it's been bled dry? In just 4 years, 6 out of the 8 primary teachers my children have had are gone. Some retired early, others fled to better districts. This year alone, both kids lost their primary teachers mid-year. And for 2 children with neurodiversities who literally need consistency, this has absolutely derailed both of my children this year to disgusting levels. Their educational momentum was derailed. Special education support, enrichment teachers, counselors, they're gone, and we're not alone. This is happening across the districts. Principals are begging for help. SPED education in D20 is a disaster. Ms. Shandy, who campaigned on SPED expertise, has done nothing but stir division and invite a mobile prayer group to monitor parents and my child at board meetings. That's not governance, it's political theater. Gregory warned back in 2019 that a teacher crisis was coming, and what has the board done? Nothing of substance. You focused on punishing parents, obsessing over shelved library books, and engaging in identity politics, while educators walk out and students are left behind. My child, my children. Team One no longer means unity, it means whoever's left, and it won't be the veteran educator standing, it'll be whoever hasn't burnt out, checked out, or been pushed out. So we're done with seat warmers. Show competence or follow Aaron Salt's lead and step down. Parents do not have the luxury to pretend things are fine because they're no longer fine. They're no longer fine. They're not. My children should not have to lose both their teachers mid-year. It's not okay. My child with dyslexia, he is so far behind, he doesn't even make.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is up.
That's the end of our public commenters.
Superintendent Haber, do you have any clarifications or next steps?
No, I do not.
We want to give a shout out and happy birthday to Mr. Rich Payne at the end of April. Woo woo. Board, was our business this evening focused on activities that promote and honor our mission statement, our belief statements, and our global end statement that reminds us that all students will have the knowledge, skills, and character necessary for successful transition to the next level, and upon graduation will be fully prepared for success? Did the board hear information tonight that would require the review or revision of a policy? I would say EL 2.7 and ends 1.2. Do you have that, Mrs. Ruckman? 626, got it. He's on it. Did the board hear information tonight that would require a new policy? No. Did the board hear information tonight that the board would like to include on a future agenda? The retreat agenda, retreat. Okay. Did you get that, Mrs. Ruckman? Thank you. There are 26 people viewing the live stream right now. There is no executive session tonight, and this meeting is adjourned.
Good night. Thanks. Or no.